And it is time for another edition of Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Bradley Meyer at the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Well, I'll tell you what, we have talked a lot about treatment, peeling back the layers of the onion to get you to feel better, that you don't have to just kind of trudge through each day and just be in survival mode. And you've got a pretty neat story of somebody relatively young that came in to see you that just wasn't really getting the full load out of their day.
And I'm impressed with the guys, the young guys, both the gals and the guys I'm seeing. But it's kind of been this cool trend where, you know, historically speaking, I feel like guys just tend to trudge along and just maybe mumble and complain a little about things and not really be real proactive on their health. But kudos to the guys over the last 6 months in the clinic here. I am seeing younger and younger guys coming in, gals too, but this is kind of this guy trend where it's a little bit surprising to me because I didn't necessarily see it all that much when I was doing traditional medicine all the time. And this is one example, a 39-year-old young man that from southern Minnesota, mechanic, father of 5, and he is just a great story and a testament to what is possible, why we talk about getting on early prevention, not just waiting, 20 to 30 years, just dealing with stuff for things to kind of mount, because then we'll see some cases like his where it's a pretty dramatic swing in a shorter period of time. But he came in and he was basically trouble with focus and what he called some brain fog, maybe some anxiety. Just completing his tasks throughout the day was difficult for him. So he came in and kind of aware that there's another way to go about things. He said, I kind of want to work on things from what's a root cause, what's really causing the issues with me versus something like a SSRI to treat his anxiety per se. And an SSRI is something like a Lexapro or a citalopram. Again, time and a place. There are some times when folks need these things, or, it's used as a bridge. But in his case, he's like, I know I don't want to go down that path at this point. So it's just an amazing, very open to my suggestions, and he started off with hyperbaric therapy, and that was something he wasn't really sure because, how am I going to fit that into my day? And he comes in, once a week at 6:30 in the morning, and that works well for his schedule. But he did that and started to clean some stuff up in his lifestyle. There was some evidence that suggested gluten might be inflaming some things for him as well. So he's working his way off of more of a gluten-free lifestyle there. We got him in to do some lab work and off to go on some initial supplements that were going to balance, support his digestion, help his detox centers. And he just got rolling really good. I saw him yesterday, and he shared with me, quote unquote, I feel a hell of a lot better. And even my anxiety is better, and brain fog much better. And so just an incredible testament to what we're trying to accomplish here in catching things. It's never too late. So we see, young to old, to get going on working on balance and inflammation in the body. But those are the really fun ones, Dave, when you have folks that are motivated, open to suggestion, and willing to take some of those lifestyle choices and implement them, put them into action. And that, as I always talk about, a lot of times it's the hyperbarics is the fire station to put out the fires, but we got to clean up those toxins out there. So we got a lot of work to identify those toxins, and then the individual to remove those toxins, those exposures the best they can, whatever they may be, and then that clears the path for a really, really amazing possibility where you get to see major changes in quality of life on an everyday basis. And so just to get back into the hyperbarics again, and why even in some cases we can see a response fairly quickly for folks, but oxygen, 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 Dave. It's like we know it's huge. It is a key part of what we call the Krebs cycle that is making ATP or energy. And so some of us over the years have decreased hemoglobin, red blood cells in that we're producing, and those carry oxygen. And if you've got less molecules carrying oxygen, then you've got less oxygen then going to the tissue in your body, which is helping to restore the body and make energy. And so the cool thing, again, a reminder, hyperbarics. What are we doing with hyperbarics? We're getting into an environment in a pressurized, almost looks like a tent, an ice shack, and folks are in there in our clinic for about 80 minutes, and it's not just the oxygen, though. It's what the pressure does with the oxygen. So it's equivalent of flying, going from flying to landing, or being about 5 to 10 feet underwater. Of course, we give you a pillow and a blanket, and it's like flying first class. We take good care of you here, our team does. And you get a little bit of that ear pressure change, very mild, just like flying, but it's Henry's law, Boyle's law. When you compress air, you increase more oxygen molecules that dissolve in the system, in fact, into your plasma. So that's the juice, or the secret sauce around the hemoglobin, or the red blood cells in the cell in the body. So let's say you have some anemia and you don't have as many red blood cells, when you go into that hyperbaric chamber, you're saturating the rest of that blood, the plasma, and with oxygen. And so when you're saturating that blood and plasma with oxygen, not just the hemoglobin or the red blood cells, you are supercharging the body. You're slowing the loss of voltage across the cellular membrane. You're increasing mitochondrial health, which make ATP. And in his case, you're just working on getting that brain firing like it wants to fire. The other interesting thing is we're always looking for that homocysteine level. So when folks coming in for lab work, we many times are checking a homocysteine level, and that's many times tied to folks that battle anxiety. And that's a question of how well are you methylating B vitamins and folate, folic acid, and so we got to be on the right B vitamins. Most of us are deficient in those areas, and you can make a few changes if that homocysteine is elevated and get on the right type of B vitamin complex, and it can mean a world of difference in your focus, your energy level, and your how you go through the day with regards to your level of anxiety. So again, another just awesome story to be a part of with this man, and he's going to be able to go forward and do more of a maintenance plan, as long as he kind of keeps things clean, dietary wise, and it's going to be a lot easier for him early on now to stay in this maintenance plan and stay ahead of the curve, basically.
And one thing I just wanted to jump in here, like you mentioned on SSRIs, there's been a lot of studies done on SSRIs, and one thing that we do know for some people, I just want to make sure I say some people, SSRIs are extremely difficult to get off of once you go down that road.
Absolutely, and I'm going to kind of follow back up on this as we go forward. A lot of it has to do with a leaky gut, and a big part of our neurotransmitters and serotonin production, for instance, comes from our digestive tract, believe it or not. We think it's like in our brain, and so over time, if that digestive tract takes a beating, which it normally does, and we get leaky gut, our body's ability to make these things, it's not as good, and so coming off of, let's say, like a Lexapro or a Cymbalta or a duloxetine, those kinds of things, can be very difficult, because we're asking the rest of our body to pick up the slack and make more of these neurotransmitters when it may have less of a capacity to do so. So we gotta feed the body, help the body heal to pick up some of that slack. And so for some folks, it can mean and you do this with a licensed professional, to come off very, very slowly if you're going to come off, and support these other systems like the digestive tract to really work on that neurotransmitter support. Otherwise, it could be a miserable experience coming off of that, and where you can end up getting things like heart palpitations or worsening anxiety. So definitely a real thing, Dave.
All right, we're way past time. I know you're making a trip and you're going to come back with news. We've talked about this a lot, but you're going to be talking about more gut health.
Yes, always working to learn more, grow. And so that's going to be the focus of my trip here, is to work on toxins and the gut, and really focus in on some of the top stuff going on in those realms. And we'll be able to take some of those pearls back and talk about it in some of the weeks ahead.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. I know we've talked about it, but this is gaining steam here on nutrition and gut health. Just this last week, we saw Derrick Henry, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, talking about his diet. We're seeing Dr. Casey Means, who's joining the Make America Healthy Again movement here, talking about how at Stanford Medical School they spent absolutely minimal, if any, time on nutrition at the medical school. And now we've got Jillian Michaels on board, and people are finding out what is in the American food, and boy, it is eye-opening to a lot of folks.
It is eye-opening, so stay engaged, and there's a lot of great resources out there. People singing from the same sheet music here now regarding food quality, nutrition, how do we detox our bodies. Some of these languages that were not all that common in the regular vernacular, it's growing, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
because we all want to feel better. So
absolutely want to get the most out of every day. Well, for folks that do want to get the most out of every single day, how do they come see you?
Give us a call at 712-339-6024. I'll do discovery calls, 15-minute complimentary calls to discuss any questions you might have about your health and how you may roll into our integrative clinic team here, and where you might start and options available to you, and we can get you lined up for a visit. And that is one way to do it. Sometimes folks will just stop by our clinic just off of Highway 71 in Spirit Lake, 3305 Berquist Avenue, for a quick tour. Happy to do that. We're a really amazing team here that is excited to share the good news and give you a walkthrough on what's happening inside Okoboji Wellness Clinic. So, please give us a call or stop by anytime. You can see us okobojivellnessclinic.com, our website, for a lot of other good information. A lot of good stuff happening here, and keeping we like to keep the energy high, the vibration high, the positive attitude, keep that rolling, and because every week we're seeing some amazing stories, and it's great to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Meyer, thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll chat again next week.
You too, Dave. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Dr. Bradley Meyer of the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. You can go online as well, okobojiwellnessclinic.com.